Finally, the wait is over.
What's going on, guys? And we're back with the Davis Sports Feud, and I got my buddy Cory Sparks here.
Crossed up, definitely pushed by Paul George, but everything's a push these days.
I just don't think this offense is going to work very well, especially under a defensive coach like Robert.
But I would still probably take like Najee Harris over one of the wide receivers.
What is going on, guys? My name is Kyle Davis, and this is the Davis Sports Feud. And I'm here with a good buddy of mine that's been on quite a few times. He seems like a good staple for our Sunday picks. Cory Sparks, how we doing?
We're doing good. I'm struggling, same as you right now. My voice is like half here, half not, but we'll get through the next hour.
Oh, yeah. If you can hear our voices, they're not doing great this morning. But that's okay. We still got a lot of knowledge and a lot of games to pick today. Just to give everybody a quick heads up, the Davis Sports Feud might be making a name change soon, mainly because it's not just my podcast anymore. I bring Cory on all the time. My two co-hosts are Wonky and T-Bone. We're doing other shows, so I think we're going to be doing a branding change a little bit. Still going to be the same logo, still going to be the same great show that we bring you on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Pod Music, Google's, and Facebook and Instagram. So definitely check us out anywhere you can find us, and be sure to check out Cory's show too, All Sports Now. You can find that also on Anchor, Spotify, and anywhere you can find your podcast. And check out his Instagram. He's got some good content over there. He always puts out his picks on Wednesday or Thursdays.
Try and do Thursday right before the game.
Okay. And I woke up this morning and totally forgot there was a London game today. So I woke up to football and I loved it. And the Falcons were already all over the Jets. I mean, we don't have to talk real. And I've already disappeared already. There we go. Good start to the day. Although it looks like the Jets are first and goal at the Atlanta 2 right now. So maybe they're going to make this a game. Kyle Pitts is having a game and a half, 7 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. Cordell Patterson continuing to impress, which means, I mean, me and Cory just talked about this. If you have Mike Davis, I think it's time to give up on that Mike Davis.
It's time to cut it off.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, do you think the Jets have a chance with 7 minutes left in the fourth here?
Yeah, they were sneaky against the Titans. I don't know how much to blame that on the Titans last week or how much credit to give the Jets, but I wouldn't count them out, especially since they're playing against a team that loves to blow leads, and it's 15-20 now. So I'm not going to count them out. That Atlanta defense, you can never have faith in them as long as there's time left on the clock. So I'm not going to count it out. The Jets were my pick, so that might be my own bias, but I wouldn't doubt it if Robert Saleh and that Jets team pull it out.
That's very fair. And that defense is starting to clamp up a little bit. There was a lot of runs that I've been watching, and it's really cool to watch that two brothers are on that defensive line of the Jets. What is it, Quinnen and Quincy?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good defense. I think this is a good team that will get better. I'm just not sure that unless Zach Wilson starts taking steps forward, he's making a lot of passes that are just off the mark by quite a bit too. And he had quite a few open passes that he just missed. And, you know, he's a rookie, so we're going to critique him just like anybody else. But he is a rookie. He's going to get his feet wet a little bit more. But I think he'll get back on track. I personally think the Falcons finish this off. And I think it's going to be they put their foot back on the pedal and start passing it downfield again. And I think Pitts is going to be good for as they just converted a 2-point conversion to Jamison Crowder. Goodness. So 17-20. It'll be a good finish, you know. The Jets don't look great sometimes, but, you know, when they can put the pieces together, they can look like a capable football team. Now, let's move on to the rest of the Sunday slate. We got a lot of games going on, a lot of good games. I think this is actually going to be a much closer game than everybody thinks. The Green Bay Packers are traveling to Cincinnati today to face the Bengals. The line is set at 3 points towards Green Bay, and the over-under is 51. I think with the Jair Alexander injury, this Bengals our offense is going to fly all over the field. I think this is going to be more of a track meet than a close game. I think Joe Mixon's going to run all over that defense, but it's still Aaron Rodgers, so it's very hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers, but here I go. I'm going to try it. Cincinnati is going to get their first statement win of the year. I'm taking Cincinnati to win, and I got Joe Burrow throwing for another 300-yard game and 2 touchdowns on this Green Bay defense. What you got?
Yeah, I like it. Joe Burrow I was hearing it on the radio like 10, 15 minutes ago on my way back up here because guess who lost his laptop charger? But we're good. So, yeah, Joe Burrow's got 6 300-yard games in his first 14 career games, which is unheard of, especially for a rookie, you know. So I picked Green Bay on Wednesday before Jair Alexander was actually ruled out. And I don't even know if I want to call an audible on it as much as I want to say it's just going to be a really close game. I still think Aaron Rodgers is going to pull it out. I think they're really going to try and dominate time of possession. I think Matt LaFleur is going to go, okay, we're without our number one guy. I'm not too confident in Kevin King being our number one. Eric Stokes looks okay, but I'm going to try and keep my defense off the field if I'm them. So I see a lot of ground and pound. They're going to try and abuse that Cincinnati defensive line, which isn't great. And then that'll set up the play action. But I've got the Packers by 3. I think they'll hold the line.
Okay. All right. Well, there's our first pick off the
right
board.
off the
Both of us right out of the gates trying to go against each other. The next matchup is staying in the NFC North. The 0-4 Detroit Lions are traveling to Minnesota. Oh, God, this is going to be an ugly game. They're facing the Vikings, and the line is 10 for the Vikings. That is interesting. I don't know if they adjusted it. I didn't see it this morning before we came on here, but I'm assuming the line was like probably farther out with Dalvin Cook. Maybe they'll adjust it before kickoff, but with Dalvin Cook, and we didn't talk any fantasy for the last matchup out, so I'm going to touch base real quick on it. If you have Jamar Chase and you're a little nervous about how he performed last week, start him this week immediately. Those corners of the Packers are inexperienced, and has been proven that Kevin King is not that great. So I think they're going to be able to take the top off that defense. So if you have Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, definitely throw them a start today. And for the Packers, I mean, I'd be willing to start giving AJ Dillon a look at possibly like if you are light on wide receivers, give him a flex look, or if you're in a deeper wide receiver league, definitely, or deeper running back league, I should say, give AJ Dillon a look. I think he's a good pickup. He's been progressing more and more as that physical back to lighten up the defense for Aaron Jones. But looking at this Lions-Vikings matchup, I don't see a world where the Vikings lose this match. Kirk Cousins is still playing at a very high level. He's got over 1,000 yards passing and 9 touchdowns, a couple picks last week. But, I mean, this Lions defense is nowhere near the defense they just faced. So I think Minnesota does get on top of them early. Do I think they cover that 10-point line? No. I think it's going to be a touchdown win. But I'm taking Minnesota to take down the Lions this week.
Yeah, I'll take Minnesota as well. Detroit is so impressive, though. I mean, you said last week they're the most impressive 0-3 team, and I don't know how many 0-4 teams there are left, but they're definitely the most impressive 0-4 team I've seen in a while. They just can't put 4 quarters together, and I think it's going to be the same story here. The theme as of late has been they come out of the gates extremely slow. They don't play the first half, and then they start to claw their way back, whether it be because it's garbage time or whether it be because they're just completely waking up and Dan Campbell's finally resonating with this team. I don't know, but look, they made our wide receiving core look good last year. Our offense is horrible. Speaking about the Bears here, you look at Minnesota, that's 3, 4, 5 steps up. You've got Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, whether it be Delvin Cook or Alex Madison, which I think it's going to be Madison this week. We know what Kirk Cousins has been doing. The only reason he has any picks on the year is because he went up against Cleveland, which is a top 5 defense. I wouldn't doubt it if they run all over them, but Detroit has a tendency to claw their way back into every single game that they're down. So for the spread, I'm not sure, but I definitely have Minnesota taking this one, regardless of what the score is.
The only reason I can see the Lions winning this game is not putting it on Jared Goff's shoulders, but putting it on DeAndre Swift's shoulders. And what is it, Jamal Williams?
Yep.
The former Packer. I think you need to get the run game going. You have 2 bruising running backs. Very strong running backs. You obviously have the not change of pace. He's more of an all-down back. But DeAndre Swift, I think he is going to be good for years to come. But my big pickup for fantasy this week is obviously with Dalvin Cook being out, go pick back up Madison if he's sitting in your waiver wire. Some leagues they might have just held on to him just in case the Dalvin Cook thing happened again. But most leagues do not have Madison on a rostered spot. So if you need a running back at the last second, go pick him up right now. I know I did in one of my leagues just because I didn't want anybody else to go pick him up.
Yeah, right. Keep him away.
But it seems like both of us are convinced that the Vikings will win, but possibly not cover the spread. Moving on to the next game, I don't know what to make of this game. It is the Denver Broncos traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The over-under set at 39. I don't care who you are. Take the under in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are 2, I don't want to say bad offenses. One is a bad offense. The other one is slow to get going at times in the Denver Broncos. It sounds like Teddy Bridgewater is coming back this week, so that is good news for them. They have 2 capable running backs. The biggest problem with the Broncos is all of their receivers are hurt.
Yeah.
They have Cortland Sutton, yes, but they're without Jerry Jeudy. They're without Hamler. And Noah Fant's starting to take steps into the correct direction for tight end, but I do think Pittsburgh's going to keep this close. I just think Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to be sat down at some point and benched. And as crazy as that sounds with how incredible of a career he's had, I think you're sooner rather than later, you're going to see Haskins or Rudolph in one of these Pittsburgh games. Today might be the day. The line set it for Denver for 1.5. I'm taking Denver and the points. I think Denver wins by a touchdown, maybe even 2.
I'm not sure if I'm saying this just to play devil's advocate, but I can't believe in Denver until they beat a team with a win on their record. Like now those teams they beat in the past have a win on their record, but at the time they all didn't have a win going into week 4. They were all 0-3. They faced their first, honestly, still bruised up team, but still a quality team in Baltimore, and they get smacked up by them. I think I have to take Pittsburgh just because of the absence of offense over in Denver. Like you said, Judy's out. We can rely on Sutton. Fant's been okay. They've been using Gordon and Javonte Williams kind of interchangeably. Whoever's the hot hand, they're just feeding them, which I have to admire. But again, we have the quarterback roulette there with Bridgewater in and out. And I don't know. I think it's just going to be a Najee Harris game. It's going to be an ugly game. I agree. Take the under on that 39 points every day of the week. I think Najee Harris is going to bail this team out. He's been progressing more and more. A couple weeks ago, he had a sneaky 100 reception yard game. I think we're going to see a lot of checkdowns because you have to take the keys out of Ben Roethlisberger's hands. I'm sorry. He is like 2 years past his prime. He should have. He pushed it a year too far, like Peyton Manning did, but he got carried to that Super Bowl by the defense. Like he doesn't look sharp. He doesn't look good. You have to be a little bit mobile. You have to have some pocket presence, even if you're not a running quarterback. He has none of what I just listed. But I do think, despite everything bad I just said about Pittsburgh, I have to go with them because I think Najee Harris is going to have a really good day today.
Well, I mean, we're disagreeing on a lot of these games, and I like it.
For sure.
The problem, I think Pittsburgh is a couple O-line pieces and Ben Roethlisberger retiring from going back to a 12-win season. They have the weapons at wide receiver. They have obviously who they want at running back, and they have one of the best defenses when healthy in the entire league. I think it's 2 years away. I think this is a 2-year project. 2 years away, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will be back in the playoffs. But right now, I don't even see them beating Denver right now. And that's only a 1-win team in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, even if Denver wins, people are still going to think, well, they've won their games with a combined record of 1 win on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
So moving on, I don't think we're going to talk about this game. I don't really have anybody to say. If you have anybody on either of these teams, I would suggest benching them. Unless you have Najee Harris.
Maybe, because no one can score.
Correct.
Other than that.
The only person I would say start is Najee Harris. I wouldn't touch any of the receivers for Pittsburgh except for possibly Deontay Johnson. But I'm telling you right now, don't start anybody on Denver Broncos unless you got the defense.
Yeah, I'm predictable.
But moving on to the next game, this is going to be a blowout. I'm going to say it right now. Miami is traveling not very far to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay actually has a pretty easy next 2 week schedule. They get Miami this week and they get Philly on the short week. So if you're going to draw a short week team, Philly looks like a good one because they don't look like they know what they're coaching. But for this game at least, Tua's still out, so you're still starting Jacoby Brissett. This team looks lost, and it's the only thing that you can get for this team is you're going to get a turnover from the Miami Dolphins.
100%.
They're going to get an interception or a fumble recovery or something like that, but I see Tampa Bay running away with this game early and often. The line is set at 11 for Tampa Bay. I think they're going to cover that and more. 48 for the over-under. I would also take the over because I just think Tampa's pissed right now. They're coming off of a very close win against Brady's old team in the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick and Mac Jones. That was a hell of a game, by the way.
Oh, that was a chess match.
Oh, yeah, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. I think Mac Jones really can succeed in that New England style offense, especially putting up the numbers he did against that defense, although their corners are damaged beyond damaged. That's the only way I can see the Dolphins at least keeping up, but even still, I don't see them winning this game. All of their corners are hurt outside of Richard Sherman, and I think Charlton Davis went down late in that New England game as well. I'm not sure on the injury report on that, but they're basically on Richard Sherman as their number one cornerback, and he just came into the room a little over a week ago.
Yeah.
But with that said, I still got Tampa winning. they got too many weapons on offense. Tom Brady still looks like he's in good form. I think the rain was the only issue with last week's game, but I think I see Godwin having another breakout game, and I see Mike Evans putting up a lot of points. Even without Gronk, they're still going to be just fine. They got so many weapons. I got Tampa Bay by 14.
Yeah, I'd say by 14 or even more. That's what was the line, 10 or 11?
11.
That's extremely generous. So I don't think people can say this very often in Tom Brady's career. He's due for a very good game because he usually doesn't go very long without a very good game. They lost to the Rams. He struggled a bit there. And then we had the chess match against New England, who on paper, Tampa Bay is 10 times better than, but because of the recognition between Brady and Belichick, they cancel each other out. So it basically came down to everybody else being able to do what they could with the ball in their hands, and they still made it a close game. So I think Brady's hungry. He probably feels like he's 0-2 in the last 2 weeks because we all know he wanted to rout that team by 50 points last week. And now it's time to take it out on a very unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time Dolphins team that doesn't have the weapons to beat them at all. Speaking, I guess if we're going to bring up fantasy, yeah, anybody on Tampa Bay, but for Miami, if anybody still has Myles Gaskin, stop trying because
he's buried so far on my bench that I'm just hoping that eventually he comes back, but he's probably going to get let go very soon.
Yeah, I had him in one of my leagues, and I had to let him go just because whenever Jacoby Brissett's under center, the offense immediately becomes throw heavy. Gesicki's actually been doing really good as of late. And then you have the factor of they're losing by 2-3 possessions by the end of the half, so they have to throw it by default. Gaskin's not the most versatile back in that he can catch screen passes or that they even send him out for those opportunities. So, yeah, this is going to be a blowout. I can actually confirm this one. I thought for sure Brady's revenge game was going to be ugly, and it was ugly in a different way, but he still got it done.
Well, I think the rain played a lot of factor in that. But moving
sure.
on to the next game, I'm giving you the keys to this one. It's New Orleans Saints traveling to Washington to face the football team. This line is set at 2.5 in New Orleans' favor, with the over-under being 43.5. What you got in this one?
Yeah, New Orleans confuses me. So they come out in week 1 and they look like a top 5 football team, absolutely routing the Packers. I think it was 38-3, getting 2 or 3 picks off of Aaron Rodgers, making him have one of the worst days he's had in his career, setting all types of franchise records for the wrong reason against Green Bay. And then last week they lose to the Giants. I don't know what to expect with them. They're so unpredictable. The defense looked like Swiss cheese. Daniel Jones was all over them. That wide receiving core that usually doesn't get utilized very well all of a sudden looked great. Saquon Barkley looked like he did 3 years ago. Like everything just looked vintage from the Giants. But I honestly think that Washington's going to be able to pull this one out. The offense just looked lackluster. They're not using Kamara as much as I'm used to them using him. He's usually their workhorse. They tried to spread the ball out more. It didn't look like them. And I think if they try and get cute like that again, they're not going to have time to do that because Chase Young and Montez Sweat are going to be bearing down the throat of Jameis Winston. So I think this is going to be another really ugly game. Not a whole lot of points being scored because Washington's defense, although battered in the last couple weeks, I think it's going to have a really good day today. A few sacks on Jameis Winston if he takes too long to think about his options. So I have Washington winning this one by a field goal.
See, the problem I have with the Washington football team is that defense. That defense was supposed to be a top 5 defense in the entire league. They're starting to round a little bit into form, but the offense of Washington is almost better than the defense of Washington right now. Taylor Heineke is looking like he is the real deal. He has Antonio Gibson at 253 yards and a touchdown, and he's using the tight ends. He's using no-name players. He's using everybody, and Terry McLaurin absolutely has taken off.
He's a beast.
And it's really good to see. 25 receptions, but 354 yards and 3 tutties. It is looking good. Granted, Heineke's still young, and he comes from, I think he played in the XFL?
XFL or CFL for a bit. He came from another professional round of football.
Yeah, and he's the first one to make a starting position other than I don't think PJ Walker did. He's still the back. He's still the backup, I believe, in Carolina.
Correct. Yep, behind Darnold.
But the problem with the Saints is that Jameis Winston, as much as he wants to throw the ball down the field, he doesn't do it. He's thrown the ball only 86 times, completing 55 of them for 613 yards. That's numbers that you usually see in week 3. We're going into week 5. He's got 8 touchdowns, 5 of which were in that Green Bay game. So since week 1, he's only thrown 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So I don't like this offense until Michael Thomas comes back and he starts restretching the field. If he comes back, he's currently buried sitting on my IR in my fantasy league. But I'm gonna take the Washington football team here because I honestly think the offense is just better. I think that the defense of New Orleans is good. I would say above average, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I would say probably in the low 20s for both teams. I got Washington winning by a field goal. I don't want to talk about this next game. I don't want to talk about this next game.
You guys got a tough schedule. I mean,
yeah, we really do. My Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to Carolina to take on the 3-1 Panthers, who kept up with the Dallas Cowboys and ended up making it a good matchup. DJ Moore looks like he is the real deal. He looks like he is capable of being a top 10, maybe even top 6 or 5 wide receiver in the league. Here is the kicker. I'm looking at the players to watch. The leading rusher between both sides of this, since Christian McCaffrey got hurt, is Jalen Hurts. That's the leading receiver or leading rusher. 226 rushing yards. 226 rushing yards from Jalen Hurts. I'm sure Sam Darnold's not far behind him, though.
Yeah, he just keeps getting those quick like QB draws from like the 2-yard line. So he's got 5 rushing touchdowns in 4 weeks.
So the line is set in 2.5 in Carolina's favor. I am surprised at that. I think the Eagles can compete with this team because they have good corners, they have a good front seven, but they're not extraordinary at anything on defense without Brandon Graham still. Fletcher Cox is still a very high level interior defender. And you still have Darius Slay on the outside, but these linebackers are just absolutely garbage. So your leaders on the team are in your front line and on your back line, and usually the middle linebacker is supposed to be your leader of the defense. I think Carolina's offense is going to get going early and often, and I think this is a very underrated Carolina defense, especially they don't get him this week, but he will be ready to play next week in Stephon Gilmore. And this is my big pickup. If you see that Carolina defense somehow for some reason still sitting in waiver wire, go pick them up immediately. Because that defense is going to be filthy. You're adding arguably a top 2, top 3. I would give him top 3 nods because I think Jair and Jalen Ramsey are that good. Oh, yeah. And I think Stephon Gilmore, until we see what he can still do on the field, I think he's still warrants a top 3. I don't see how the Eagles win this game, though. I got Carolina winning by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll stay similar with that. I think Carolina will take it by 10. I'm just not too confident in the Eagles secondary. And then you look at Carolina, a team that's going to have to throw the ball a little bit more with Christian McCaffrey still making his way back, although Chuba's been all right. Yeah, DJ Moore's been great. Robbie Anderson is slowly starting to get used more for whatever reason. And I don't know, maybe this is just my fantasy bias. When Sam Darnold came in, I'm thinking, okay, we have 2 former Jets teammates who are being rescued from a garbage organization. They will link up a lot this year. Robbie Anderson has not been getting targets. I mean, he's been catching what's thrown towards him. He had a decent week last week, okay in week 3, but before that, it was like he wasn't even there. With that being said, I think him and DJ Moore will do really well today, though. I think Sam Darnold might get another rushing touchdown because it's just, I don't know, it's just public information at this point that he's constantly going to be going for those when they're inside the 5. Not having CMC for the last couple weeks may have something to do with it, but even before that, he had a pair of them. So I think that Philadelphia is doing a lot better than most people will give them credit for. They actually kept up with the Chiefs, and they gave them a really tough first 3 quarters, and then the Chiefs started to score a little bit more. But they've been doing really well considering their schedule. Like, their schedule outside of Atlanta has not been easy. There are easier games ahead. I think they do have a chance. Chris Smith, my buddy on the last week of my podcast, said that that's a team he thinks can still squeeze into the playoffs, which I'm not sure about that. But here's the thing. We're looking at the 1-3 teams going into this week, and our options were not very good. We had Indianapolis, we had Miami, we had Minnesota, who was mine, we had Philadelphia, we had Atlanta, and we had a couple more. We had the Jets. New England. Yeah, New England. So there wasn't a great pool to pick from, but I could see where he's coming from, and that Jalen Hurts is a dynamic quarterback. His weapons are still developing. Miles Sanders is starting to get used a little more, other than that one game where he got rushed like twice. I think it's just a play calling thing at this point. But once the pieces come together, I think they'll be fine. There are easier games ahead. How could there not be? You guys have had a really tough 3-week stretch, but I do have Carolina in this one by 10.
It doesn't get easier quite yet.
No, but a little bit down the road.
They get Tampa and then the Raiders. Where does it get easy? There's no easy stretch. You get a good reprieve at the Lions, but then you have to go back home and face the Chargers. You have to face the Broncos defense. You have to face the Saints, and there's your little reprieve. You get the Giants, the Jets, and then you finish up with the division. Washington, the Giants, at Washington, at home against the Cowboys.
I'd say the division is where it gets easy. I mean, I think you guys are way better than the Giants, and I definitely think you could
squeeze into the playoffs. No way.
No, not
I see 6 wins.
Playoffs.
I see 6 wins here.
Yeah, I think he was stretching it, but out of the 1 and 3 teams, I think I like them more than at least half of them. I think they're all right.
Fair. That's fair. Now let me get back into place here. All right. We have the Tennessee Titans coming off of a back-breaking loss to the New York Jets, which, by the way, I have not checked that score in a while. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Who got that last touchdown?
Oh,
God, Kyle Pitts is snapping.
Goodness. 120. Doing what he was supposed to be doing week 1.
Who got that rushing touchdown?
It just took everyone to get hurt for that to happen.
Mike Davis got a touchdown. All right. Proving
Murphy's
me wrong,
law, dude.
obviously.
I just dropped him.
I have to talk bad about somebody for them to do well, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Tennessee Titans get a chance to get another 0-4 team a win this week, traveling to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence. And
I did not expect you to put it like that.
I wanted to do it. So they got AJ Brown coming back, so I think that helps a lot. Julio is still out, but this team isn't really known as a throwing team, even though Ryan Tannehill is in the top 10 in passing yards this year with 5 touchdowns attached to it. You have a workhorse. That's all you can call Derrick Henry nowadays. He is a workhorse. 510 rushing yards, far and away the leading rusher in the league. Like, if you add a game to almost everybody else's tally, Derrick Henry's still sitting in front of him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The leading receiver from both of these teams is Marvin Jones for Jacksonville. I'm gonna bring up Trevor Lawrence's number just because I'm curious to see how he's doing.
Okay, he's starting to be a little more disciplined out there. He had a tough week 1, and week 2 wasn't too good as well, but he's doing okay.
He is throwing over 55%, completing 55% of his passes, so he's not god awful. He has roughly the same passing percent or completion percentage as Ryan Tannehill, 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions with 873 yards to go with it. James Robinson is looking like he is the real deal.
Goodness,
but it's here and there. He'll have a bad game, and then he'll have a really good game, and then he'll come back to earth and have a good game, and then he'll have a bad game. It's really bizarre. Without Julio Jones, I'm just kind of going through. It doesn't look like anybody else of big name. Like, they're missing Westbrook. I don't know how to say his last name. Westbrook Akini.
Let's see.
It's the other wide receiver that was doing pretty well last week when both of those two were out. Nick Westbrook Akini.
Sure.
Yeah, I like it. Here's my upset of the week. Trevor Lawrence gets his first win as an NFL quarterback. And the reason I'm going to say this is the defense of this Tennessee team is not that great. Like, we thought it was going to be better. And I honestly think that the AFC South is by far and away the worst division in football.
Horrible this year.
Because at least in the NFC East, you have what looks like a playoff caliber Dallas Cowboys team. At least in the NFC North, you have a playoff caliber team in the Packers. You don't have a playoff caliber team in the AFC South. You have a Tennessee team that
this was supposed to be it. Yeah,
it was supposed to be it. You were supposed to have Indianapolis do really well. You don't even know what the Colts are this year anymore because of how many different injuries they continue to have. Although Philly's pick is looking pretty damn good with Carson Wentz playing so much.
Yeah.
So I'll say that, but I'm going to go out on a big limb and say Trevor Lawrence is going to have his best game as a pro today. I think he throws for 300 yards, a couple touchdowns. He's going to throw his interceptions because he always throws his interceptions, but I got Jacksonville winning by a field goal today.
I don't hate it. Out of all the upsets that can happen, because there are a lot of really good games, so I feel like it's hard to call an upset this week because, I mean, you have the Chargers. I'm not going to try and bite off things that we're going to talk about in the future, but you have the Chargers, the Browns, you have Detroit and Minnesota, which both teams don't look the best, although Minnesota looks all right. Well, you have Atlanta and the Jets, who are arguably equally bad. So it's hard to call a big upset here, but I like it because who does Tennessee have on defense? I mean, they have Janoris Jenkins at linebacker, but to get cut up by a Jets team that once again looked horrible today, I'm sorry, if you are up against Atlanta and you score less than 28 points, you have some reevaluating to do. And they couldn't do it today. But they could do very well and actually go into overtime and beat Tennessee. I thought for sure once that game went into overtime, I'm like, okay, the Tennessee Titans have been given about 3 hours to understand who they are, and they're playing the Jets.
4 hours, basically.
Yeah, basically 4 hours, and they still couldn't do it. The whole reset happened. I expected this to be the Derrick Henry show, and he'd run it all the way down, and they ended up failing to convert, and then they give it over to the Jets, and the Jets end it. So it's just, I don't hate it, but I do think that Tennessee is extremely angry. Like, if Tennessee is to somehow lose this game, you have to press the panic button. There were a lot of people calling them Super Bowl contenders with the Julio Jones acquisition. I still think, like you, he is way over the hill. But nonetheless, people thought that was the final piece, completely neglecting the fact that their defense can't guard the Jets. So, yeah. But I still do have them winning it. I have them, it's not going to be a blowout. I think they're going to be angry enough to not just give it to Derrick Henry, but since A.J. Brown's back, he'll get his targets as well. The Jags defense is nothing impressive either, but this AFC South lacks recognition. I thought it was going to be a runaway division with Tennessee. Indianapolis would be close behind with Carson Wentz finally having a healthy season. That's already been spoiled. I mean, everything is just in shambles for this division right now. They are the new NFC East, I guess, because the East looks good. So
the East is starting to look better. The one thing I'm going to compare is Julio Jones has been compared to this man his entire career until the tail end because of his injury issues. But Julio Jones is replicating AJ Green. AJ Green is having a little bit of a resurgence in Arizona, but that's who I compare those two players to, because AJ Green had like a 100-yard receiving game and a touchdown this year, and I think Julio, he just can't get in the end zone for some reason. I just don't understand.
It's been the case for the last couple of years. It's weird.
He's such a good receiver, but he can't get in the end zone. It blows my mind. So that's my big upset of the day. Keep that bookmark, because I usually say one of those, and usually one of them comes true. Because here's a game that I actually think New England's going to get running, and I think they're going to get running hot, because I personally think, you guys were talking about who's the best 1-3 team. I think New England's the best 1-3 team, mainly because of who has the headset on the sideline. Bill Belichick's going to game plan the best way possible. 1-3 Patriots travel to Houston to take on the 1-3 Texans. I believe Davis Mills is still starting there. They just got done getting blanked by the Buffalo Bills. Yes, they're going to come out angry, but the problem is they don't have enough weapons to come out angry and actually do something about it. I think I don't have much to say about this. Mac Jones is going to be a game manager again. He's probably going to throw a touchdown or two, and Damian Harris is going to have a big day. I think Patriots win this. They cover the 8-point line, and I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns today.
Yeah, and in terms of, I have to agree with everything you said. In terms of fantasy, I kind of hope Damian Harris comes back, because he had a really rough week last week. He was pretty much taken out of the game in that quarterback duel that actually ended up happening. Mac Jones finally started throwing down the field, and that's exactly why I think they're going to win. I think Mac Jones is going to finally start throwing down the field more. You can do it against the secondary. Outside of Zach Cunningham, there's not a respectable defender on this defense. I hate to say it, but they're just not in a good position. And then I'm not sure what the stat is, but if you look up records of rookie quarterbacks against Bill Belichick, I can assure you it's not pretty. I've heard that before, and I can actually see it here. But with that being said, I mean, you have someone with the clipboard on the sidelines who is able to beat anybody who's comparable to this team. And Davis Mills, all due respect to him, but outside of Brandon Cooks, he has nobody to throw to. They don't have a true number one running back back there. They've got some names: Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, David Johnson here and there. Whoever's not hurt goes out there. This team's just the definition of a rebuild, and we'll see how they handle it. But Bill Belichick's not going to have trouble. That offense is going to look electric for one of the few times this year, because Houston just lacks identity.
I'd have to agree. It's just such a bizarre team. I really hope the best for Texans fans. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe you get good draft picks back for Deshaun Watson eventually, if that ever decides to get figured out. I'm going to give you the reins. It's your team, bud.
People want to give the Bears credit this week, and I don't think I can. People are going to say, you know, the Raiders are coming off of a loss. The Bears are coming off a win. You got to look at who they played. Goodness, like, the Chargers are electric. The fact that Max Crosby was able to be as disruptive as he is, I think the only thing wrong with that Chargers team right now is maybe their offensive line. But
I see what you're saying. I see. You're talking about the previous game.
Yeah.
My bad.
So, sorry. Yeah, you're like,
threw me through a loop. You were like the Chargers, and I'm like, wait a second, what? Did I miss something?
No. I didn't move ahead. I promise. I just think that they have too many weapons for this Bears secondary. I expect Justin Fields to get his first passing touchdown. I think we're going to be able to air it out against their secondary, which isn't anything great, and the Chargers exposed that last week as well. But Darren Waller, Henry Ruggs scares me, because he occasionally gets like a 55, 60-yard catch out of like nowhere, And the Bears are so they're so bound to have that happen. They always do that. They always just leave someone wide open. We did it against Cooper Kupp. We did it against somebody else earlier this year. Henry Ruggs runs like a 4-2 routinely, and I just see it happening. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I think that the Raiders just have too many weapons to not beat us. Darren Waller should have a decent game. We're not too good against tight ends. Derek Carr will have a good recovery game, and whoever's in that backfield will do a comparable job, but I do think that we can actually keep their running game at bay. On the offensive end, I think Justin Fields is going to get it rolling, but I do think that defensive line in Las Vegas is a lot more disruptive than people realize. We don't have a good offensive line. We're just going to lose the battle at the lines is basically what I'm saying. And I think it'll be close. I would say 23-17, but I actually have the Raiders pulling this one out.
I'm looking at the injury report. Hakeem Hicks is out, and Khalil Mack is questionable right now.
Yeah.
So if
we're not healthy either.
If Khalil Mack doesn't play, I see it as a rough day at the office for the Bears today.
For sure.
Because Derek Carr is looking like he is the real deal this year, at least. It took him quite a few years to get his feet under him, and he's got the right receivers now, which is really bizarre because there's no stud receiver sitting on the outside there. You have Henry Ruggs, who's a burner. Hunter Renfrow is a very good route runner. Darren Waller looks like a top 3 tight end. So they have weapons all over the board. Josh Jacobs in the backfield, a very capable offensive line, which I want to start talking about somebody on that offensive line that was picked in this draft this year that people were talking mad crap about. Leatherwood does not look bad at all. I think he is actually one of the better rookie offensive linemen. Obviously, Penei Sewell is going to get all of the praise because he is making monster blow-up plays on the line, but he gives up stuff too. But I think Leatherwood is playing good enough to warrant that he is one of the better offensive linemen out of this draft class. So I think the Raiders get on top of the Bears often, especially if they're not rushing the passer that well. But I think Justin Fields is going to play well today still. They have a very good secondary in Vegas, but I still think the weapons that Justin Fields likes to use, and here's my biggest pickup if he's not in your lineup or if he's sitting on your bench, go put in Darnell Mooney this week because that is his favorite target, and it's not even close. Justin Fields loves Darnell Mooney so much because he can use that big arm that Justin Fields has. If he gets out of the pocket, Darnell Mooney is going to be continuing to run around. But unfortunately, I think Vegas pulls this out. I got them winning by a field goal. I don't see them covering the 5.5 line, but I got a close game. And if the Bears can keep it close, I think they can also win this game because they have enough weapons on the offensive side of the ball to keep this game close.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing about Leatherwood. I do really like him. I actually wanted the Bears to get him a year ago when it was very clear that our offensive line was going into shambles. You know, Kyle Long is retired. Whitehair is constantly getting hurt. Charles Leno Jr. commits more penalties than blocks. Like, everything is just in shambles for us. And I was looking at Leatherwood out of Alabama. I'm like, I love him. I think a lot of people are just giving the Raiders crap because I don't think he needed to be picked at 17. But if that was the most logical pick for them at the time, sure, because he does look really good. And whoever's been in that backfield, whether it be Josh Jacobs or Kenyon Jake or Barber, they've looked good when they run to his side because he is taking care of his assignment. So I will give him that.
So we are, with that game, we are into the 3:00 window. Moving on to this next game, I think this has a chance to be one of the 2 games of the week because obviously the game of the week is Sunday night. It is tonight, the Bills facing the Chiefs. That's what the game of the week is this week. But we have the Browns, the 3-1 Browns facing the 3-1 Chargers. I personally have said on last episode on Tuesday that the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West. I know that's a stretch because the Chiefs are still there. Vegas is playing at a high level. It's the most competitive division currently in the NFL because the worst team has 2 wins right now, and the worst team in that division is the Chiefs right now. That is insane to say. But I think the defense of the Cleveland Browns is elite. I will give them that. The offense of the Cleveland Browns is not. They have a good offensive line, so they should be able to do a lot of damage. But I think you're going to see Bosa in that backfield today. You're going to see the corners running around because I think they have Harris, right? They have Chris Harris still, right?
Yes.
The Chargers. So I think that Baker Mayfield's going to have a tough game today, just like he had a tough outing last week. I don't know if he is the long-term option for the Cleveland Browns. He's going to get paid, so I think he's going to be there for a while, but I don't think he's the answer for the Cleveland Browns. The reason this team is 3-1 is because of their backfield.
Oh yeah,
Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt make up in my opinion, the best backfield in football.
agreed.
And they're going against another good tandem in Roundtree, who likes to loosen up the defense for Austin Eckler, another very strong, incredibly strong running back in Austin Eckler. I know everybody has heard I've tried to trade him in my fantasy leagues, but Austin Eckler is the real deal. He's giving you 20 to 25 points in fantasy every single week. He ended up winning me my matchup last week, so kudos to him. I'm glad I had him. But I see the Chargers winning this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game still because both defenses are capable of keeping them down. But I got the Chargers winning this game. I'm going to say by a touchdown.
Yeah, I originally had the Browns, and then I just kept looking at this game because this one stumped me. You have, in my opinion, the number one offense against the number one defense. You have Baker Mayfield looking lackluster. So then I think the key matchup here is that Browns offense against the Chargers defense. That Chargers defense is elite. Derwin James got his first pick in a while. I think he might get another one today because Baker has not looked good. Depends on how he feels like he's throwing today, but Baker's been getting out of the pocket, and instead of throwing it out like he should, he's trying to force a lot more. He's going for the home run play. And when you have a defense like Cleveland does, when you have a backfield like they do, you don't need to do that. You don't need to be the superhero because that team is full of superheroes. They're a Super Bowl contender if they can play as congealed as they're supposed to. But I have the Chargers today as well. I respect the heck out of that defense over in Cleveland, especially after what they did to my Bears, 9 sacks, 4.5 by Myles Garrett. But I think that line holds up. And I think if they actually try and blitz LA, they are going to regret it very quickly via Mike Williams, via Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. I mean, the team looks extremely good. Jared Cook's been actually doing sneakily good, getting a few receptions every week.
I feel like he does that every week.
Yeah.
Every year since he's been in the league. He's sneaky and he's putting up numbers.
Yeah, he's just reliable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still kicking. So I definitely think that upon looking at this matchup more, because I do ESPN picks and I do my podcast picks. I picked the Browns for my podcast picks, but I went over to ESPN and I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't. I think the Chargers are too good. I think they're going to go 4-1 this week. And I think Baker's got some reevaluating to do. They'll recover, but they're not doing well right now. They're not playing their best football.
A quick note on this game: Denzel Ward and Jadeveon Clowney are questionable for this matchup. So if either of those two don't play, I think that loosens up that defense enough that Justin Fields is going to have a heyday. So I got him by a touchdown. You got him by,
I'd say a touchdown as well.
Okay. So moving on to the next game. Unfortunately, I have to talk about this team. The New York Giants travel to Dallas to Jerry World to take on the Cowboys. This offense of the Cowboys is elite now. I'm going to give them elite status. It pains me to say this, that their defense is middle of the road. And that's all they need it to be, is middle of the road, because that offense is so good that they can keep teams, if they can keep teams to 21, 24, 20, even as high as 28, they're going to win most of those games.
Yeah, it's over.
And with Zeke starting to round back into form, Tony Pollard looking like he is also the real deal, I want to pick the Giants. I want to pick the Giants so bad because I want the Cowboys to lose, and that's just my bias speaking. I can't do it. I can't. Kenny Galladay's had a good breakout game. Daniel Jones is throwing the ball very well in last week's game against the Saints. He's actually has more passing yards than Dak Prescott. You know the reason for that, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know the reason for that. The running game of that team is so good. Just to put out there, both Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton and Jabril Peppers are all out on the Giants side.
Oh, God. That's going to be an ugly game.
These guys are questionable, but they're probably going to play. Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper are both questionable. I think they'll both play today. So especially with those two weapons in Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, for fantasy wise, go pick up Kenny, or if you have Kenny Galladay sitting on your bench, go put him in your lineup right now. I think the defense is middle of the road for Dallas, so I still think that Kenny Galladay is going to get loose for a couple. But I'm going to be real honest. Dallas is winning by 2 touchdowns minimum.
Yeah, minimum. I wouldn't doubt if it was 3 or 4 or way more. The passing yard stat's interesting, and a lot of people were giving Dak credit last year, going, he was on pace for 6,000 yards. And although Dak hasn't been too good, I think he's been overrated for a while. He's having a good year this year. The one thing I admire that he said is, I don't want to pass for 6,000 yards because that means we're probably going 4-12, or in this case, 4-13 with the 17-game season. Yeah, I think they blow them out. Galladay, I mean, since their wide receiving core is going to be depleted, I would have to assume that Dallas is going to man them up, meaning Quandre Diggs will be on Galladay. I'm not sure if I like that matchup for Galladay. He's a great receiver, but he's getting off to a really slow start. I think he'll still get a few catches here. There will be garbage time in this game. I think Dallas is going to put up a 35 or a 40 piece just because this Giants defense is very vulnerable right now, especially with, you said Jabril Peppers is out too. I don't like it a lot. Bradbury's been getting exposed quite a bit. Most of his production has been without Michael Gallup too, which is a really good third option. He's back. So
Jesus.
There's not much to say. It's just going to be ugly. I know you don't want to see it happen, but they're going to be 4-1. The Giants just can't do anything about it.
It is what it is. The Eagles will come back eventually.
Yeah, there you go.
Moving on to the next game is another very interesting matchup because I think the 49ers are easily, I don't want to say easily, but they're very close to the best 2-2 team because obviously it's them and the Chiefs are the two best 2-2 teams. It just sucks that both teams play in such competitive divisions.
Yeah.
But the San Francisco 49ers travel to the desert to play the Arizona Cardinals, the red hot Arizona Cardinals. And I see them continue to roll. The defense of the Cardinals is actually, I would say, not elite, but just a hair down of a step from elite. They get the pass rush going very well, which means that Jimmy Garoppolo, or in this case, Trey Lance.
Yep.
That right there, that thing that I said right there is the reason that the Cardinals are going to win this game. I think Trey Lance is going to be very trigger happy. I think they're going to try and ground him a little bit, but you can't ground him because you don't have any running backs in your backfield.
Yeah. So
they're going to let him loose, but he's going to throw. I'm calling it now. He's throwing 2 or 3 interceptions today. He's going to get a couple touchdowns as well, but I think the interceptions are going to get up there. I think Kyler Murray has another masterclass game. I don't think it's like a 400-yard passing thing, but I think he's going to throw for 300 and he's going to rush for another 40, and he's going to add a rushing touchdown and probably 2 touchdowns on through the air. He's going to continue his MVP candidacy. I think he's got to be towards the top of the line there. I think Arizona covers the 5-point spread, and I say they win by 10 points.
Yeah, I think this is a match made in heaven for Arizona. They're going up against a rookie QB in what would otherwise be a really tough team. I think Trey Lance will do fine. I think he will probably throw a pair of interceptions. I wouldn't go over that because I do think he's like Patrick Mahomes, and he could throw from a lot of different platforms, so he's really impressive. We haven't really seen his discipline yet, how he's able to survey the field. I mean, we got that sample size of 2 quarters last week. We'll get to see the full game today as long as he keeps it a game and stays healthy. But I got to stop doubting this Arizona team. They've got some tough games ahead. I don't think they'll go 17-0, but I had them losing to the Titans. That didn't happen. I had them losing last week to the Rams. That didn't happen. I really thought that was going to happen, but they didn't. I don't think that the 49ers are going to be a tougher game than the Rams were. So I think Kyler Murray takes care of business. He's got too many weapons out there. I mean, he has DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. They've got the 2-headed backfield of James Conner and Chase Edmonds. And the defense looks amazing. Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt are looking like the definition of disruptive right now. So I think they'll actually win by 10. Trey Lance is going to struggle. He's going to turn the ball over here and there. And those running backs better hold on to the ball because if they don't, it's going to be a mess.
I'd have to agree with you. And I think the Cardinals are going to lose quite a handful of games because I don't think they can keep up this pace. And who knows? Maybe the Niners will surprise us. Maybe Trey Lance is going to be a really good quarterback. And who knows? We never may see Jimmy G start for the Niners again.
Depending on how today goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen the 49ers. Granted, it was a completely different regime. They had Alex Smith get hurt, and then next thing you know, Colin Kaepernick's starting for the next 3 years. So you never know what's going to happen in the NFL. This could be that could have been the last time you see Jimmy G, and Trey Lance could start from here on out. Regardless, moving on to the game of the week, in my opinion, by far and away the game of the week this weekend. It is the Buffalo Bills traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. I don't know what to say about this. The line set at 3 points in Kansas City's favor. The over-under is 56.5, and I would take the over still because both offenses are very good. It's hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to do it, though. Josh Allen is playing very high-level football. He's got so many weapons. He's got Dawson Knox at tight end. He's got Stephon Diggs. I believe they still have Cole Beasley.
Yep.
They have Emmanuel Sanders as well. He has so many options. The offensive line is playing at a higher level, so he's not scrambling for his life every single play, but he has a lot of designed run plays. Did you know that Patrick Mahomes has 14 touchdowns?
No.
I just looked at that stat and it just kind of took me by surprise. I was like, wait, what?
The big story is they're 2-2 right now. I had no clue.
Jesus.
The fact he does that, no one's talking about it, is just a testament to how good the guy is.
If they go on a run, he's going to be up for MVP candidacy again.
Yeah.
But Tyreek Hill has 30 receptions for 453 yards and 4 touchdowns. Most of those done against my team, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but you know, it's a big step up of defense between last week for Patrick Mahomes and this week. That defense of Buffalo is still elite. I think this is the best team in the NFL in Buffalo. It's either them or the Chargers. I think both of them. I want to see them face off. I want to see and I believe we get it at some point this year. The Chargers and the Bills. Let me look. No, unfortunately, we don't.
Oh, this is just a random matchup then.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's
I was thinking they play the whole West.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's almost a split. If they were playing on a neutral field, it would be an even line for Vegas. But I'm looking at the injury report. The only person who's questionable right now of notability is Chris Jones on the defensive line of Kansas City. But usually when you see questionable, normally you're going to see them play, especially when it comes out so late. But coming off of a 40-point bludgeoning of the Houston Texans, and both teams got easier matchups, but Philly put up 30 against that Chiefs defense. What do you think Buffalo and Josh Allen are going to do? I got Buffalo. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think we're looking at 40s for both teams, and I think Buffalo wins by 6.
Yeah, this Buffalo defense looks amazing on paper right now. They've allowed 21 points in the last 3 weeks. All of those points coming in the same game. So I've had 2 shutouts in the last 3 weeks. I think they run the risk of playing a team that is way better than the last 3 that they've gone up against. So they 35-0'd the Dolphins, who are garbage. They 43-21 Washington, who is getting better on offense, and their defense definitely struggled in that game. I don't think they played their best game. And they 40-0'd the Texans. So if you go into fantasy right now, they'll probably be listed as the number 1 defense, I would at least assume, because they've gotten a lot of sacks and turnovers. Yeah, by a mile, right? I think that the Chiefs still have this team's number, and I cannot see a Patrick Mahomes-led team going 2-3. If I see it after today, so be it. I refuse to accept it. I think that I think that wide receiving core is going to expose another secondary, and this is going to be a really tough one against Buffalo, but I think we get in a shootout, and when you get in a shootout, I got to go with Kansas City. It's going to be close.
It's going to be such a good game. I am so excited for
that. We got the AFC Championship that happened last year and could happen again this year if both of these teams, mostly Kansas City, gets back on the right track. But I think they still got their number. It's at home too. You got the Chiefs Kingdom screaming. I got to go with it.
So are we waiting for Monday night picks?
We can run it real quick. I think it's a pretty obvious one. It's up to you.
I think it's a pretty obvious one as well, except I'm taking a hard right turn. I think the Colts can put it together. Indianapolis is traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who come off of a win against who the hell did they just play?
Broncos.
Yes, the Broncos. So they handed the Broncos their first loss. I don't think like the Ravens beat the Chiefs. They lost to the Vegas Raiders in overtime. Here's where it gets more difficult, though. They almost lost to a Detroit team that is winless right now. Where the Colts have won, got their first win last week against Miami. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to the Rams, and they lost to Seattle. The Colts have a more daunting schedule that they've had to go through, although Tennessee is not that great. We have seen now. The Ravens have gone through the last 2 weeks facing Denver and Detroit. I think the Colts have an opportunity. They do. To surprise some people today or tomorrow, and I'm taking the left when everybody goes right because I need to take the lead back in our picks.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts mainly because I think the defense is going to start putting those pieces together. Baltimore predicates their entire offense on the run game, and I still don't believe in their run game that much. And the fact that Marquise Brown can't catch a cold at this point.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Taylor gets going early and often in this game. I think it's a career game from Jonathan Taylor today.
That's a bold prediction. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, we're agreeing on this one. Yeah, I mean, the strength of schedule argument is very valid. I just have to go with Baltimore because Lamar Jackson has had to carry this team a lot. They've looked bad against bad teams, but they also were able to pull it out against the Chiefs. I think they're going to find a way to win this one. that defense of Indianapolis was top tier last year. They were number one at multiple points throughout the year for pretty much half the year. The secondary was suffocating. Defensive line was suffocating as well. But they are on the field way too long. Like when things happen like they happened last week where the run game gets going and the offense is fine and the defense isn't on the field for like 2/3 of the game, that's cool. But and I think this is going to happen, if Baltimore can just dominate time of possession, they're going to tire out that defense and Lamar's just going to be a running back again. I mean, Marquise Brown can't catch a cold, but he has had some good catches. It's going to be close for sure. I think Jonathan Taylor will have a very good day. He heated up and had his best fantasy day yet last week. But I'd have to go with Baltimore here in a close one.
All right. And that covers our slate. I have one question for you, and it covers the college football landscape. What do you think of the Texas A&M Aggies?
Oh, God. I saw the score at the half, and I'm like, what is going on? Their pass attack is insane, first off.
It is. It's good to see Alabama fall. That's the first time they've lost a game in nearly 2 years.
That's insane, man.
Insanity. And it's the first Nick Saban assistant to defeat Nick Saban.
Oh, we may have a formula then.
That is incredible.
Secret's out. Yeah, right.
The secret's out. Jimbo, talk to Jimbo.
Yeah, right.
Anything else for the NFL slate today for you, bud?
I think that's it for me, man.
All right. Let the people know where to find you.
Yep. All Sports Now is going to be on Instagram at all.sportsnow. Go on YouTube. We just put up a Week 5 picks video, so I'm syncing those with the graphics I've been doing on the Instagram as well. I break down every single game in about 60 seconds or less, so it's super quick, super concrete. The graphics sequential, so if you're looking for your team, just kind of go to that spot and you'll be able to narrow it down pretty quick. But we do those breakdowns every Thursday. And then, yeah, we're on Twitter as well, All Sports Now Pod, and we're doing weekly episodes every Monday. So thanks a lot, Kyle.
Yeah, no problem. And you can catch the Davis Sports Feud on, oh gosh, there's things happening in my ear, ESPN. Jesus. I have to close ESPN now. That scared the shit out of me. Davis Sports Feud. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube for the live content. You can find the audio content on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And then check out our Twitter because we're doing a lot of work on that. And then T-Bone is handling all of our TikToks. He says he's got a lot of good content coming there. I know TikTok's like the thing of the future now, I guess. So right. I don't know about it. I'm turning into an old man before I know it. I'm 30 years old and I'm 30 years too old.
Well, you guys got a 600 view video, so I mean you're getting there, you know.
We're getting there. We're on the right track. But Cory, thank you for coming on. Hopefully a lot of your picks hit today. You've been on a roll this year, I hear. What's your record on the year?
44-20. Actually, in ESPN it's 45-19, so I'm top 0.2% right now.
That's impressive. That's
probably
really
just jinx the crap out of it. Watch me go like 6-10 today. No, but
you're gonna lose on Monday Night Picks. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, right.
But all right, thank you for coming on for the Davis Sports Feud. I'm Kyle Davis. That's Cory Sparks. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Take it easy.
Wesley Matthews Jr. Dodgers win! Finally, the wait is over.
What's going on, guys? And we're back with the Davis Sports Feud, and I got my buddy Cory Sparks here.
Crossed up, definitely pushed by Paul George, but everything's been pushed these days.
I just don't think this offense is going to work very well, especially under a defensive coach like Robert.
But I would still probably take like Najee Harris over one of the wide receivers.